Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fridays with Keenan's Cutting Edge. My name is Jenna Labor, and I will be your host as we explore the dynamic world of Don Keenan's trial philosophy, The Cutting Edge. Those of you joining us live this afternoon have the opportunity to ask questions and interact with our speaker. So please feel free to do so. The way you do that is by typing any questions or comments or discussion topics you'd like to hear about in the comments section below. Episodes are released each week, so if you're not with us live today, or if you have somebody you think would be particularly interested in this topic, you can absolutely point them to YouTube next week when it's released. Today, we have Thomas Morrissey with us to talk about the Direct Exam College. He is the Dean of the Direct Exam College. I teach it as well, but he is the #1 absolute expert on this college and is going to share with us about what we can expect from it, what we should have prepared going into it, why we should take it. Now, this is a relatively new-ish course. And I think it's probably been around for a couple of years. But in addition to being KTI faculty and the dean of this college, Thomas practices personal injury law. So as always, we'll put his contact information in the description below, and you can feel free to reach out to him with any questions you have about Direct Exam College or anything else Edge. Thomas, if you were talking to somebody who's on the fence about whether or not to attend this college, what would you say to really sell it to them and encourage them to take that leap?
Oh, great sidestep question. How many times, we've seen this with people in depositions, how many times, in the old way, were you worried that your client was going to blow up in the deposition, and you learn witness prep and you learn the power of, Keenan's system. Now, apply that to your client at trial. Your client is going to be the best witness at trial. And in order to do that, you need to know the right way to prepare and conduct the direct exam of your client at trial. It's pivotal. That's what I would say. Great question.
Well, I'm just thinking as if I were somebody who's on the fence about it, I find myself in the same position a lot of people do. When I'm looking at courses, I'm like, it's 2 days. It's actually, I think this one, is it still 3 days? This one might be 3 days. Yeah. So I really am thinking about where I want to spend my time, where I want to spend my money or my client's money if your client has consented to you using it for, these educational purposes. And I'm like, I don't know, I've taken all of them. So, but the importance of having taken, or the significance, I guess, of having taken all of them is that you got to continue to take them. And so I think the same way as a lot of people do, in that, what is it about this? I'm already pretty good at direct exam. Direct exam is not even that hard. Why should I do this? Now, personally, my reason for getting involved in the course when Papa Don invited me to be faculty was I am not good at direct exam. I am the opposite of good at direct exam. I really find it difficult. I find that I talk way too much. As I'm doing right now, I use too many words and I overshadow my client's story because I'm so worried about getting the facts out. Is there something in this college that could help someone like me? I mean, I'm admitting that straight up, and I still, even as faculty, I still struggle with it. But will we learn things in this college that will help us with that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And let's see, right? I want to make sure that I share what I'm allowed to share. But yeah, there's, when you do direct exam, there's the hits that you want to get, right? But then there's the way that you do it. And that's what you're talking about. How do you effectively conduct it? What types of questions do you ask? What type of tone do you use? What type of and how do you weave it all in and out together? So the way you conduct it versus just focusing on your hits, that's what you're talking about. And yes, you learn that, well, let me put it this way. The students are given the tools and plenty of role play to hone those skills and to learn those skills, but or to, let me say, refine them, right? Because I think if you reach it to this point, you've got some level of those skills. But as with everything, right? If you're saying to yourself, if your student is like, oh man, can I take that time? Listen, it's not just the 3 days you're in there. You better do the homework beforehand. I mean, it just like everything else, Edge. It's not a bag of tricks. It is you've got to live it, breathe it, know it, engage it, and it takes work. And so do the colleges. You got to, man, do that homework. I remember, I'm still a student of the colleges. I still go to the colleges, but when I started, I still remember all these, blog articles and all that kind of stuff. And I was reading them. I mean, and if I didn't, and when I was flying in, whatever it was, I had every one of them read. I didn't go to sleep until every one of them were read. Should have done it sooner, and I do that now. But it amazes me that all that material is there and we lay it out, and it's like an afterthought. It is all part of it. So you better put the time in. Now I feel like you. I'm rambling a little bit, but
hey, that's all right.
You better put that time in, because you need that. I mean, it's not like we've just taken a bunch of articles and threw them together for no reason. I mean, Papa Don teaches us, you have to have a reason for everything you do, right? Otherwise, you're wasting your time. And why would you do that? So, everything is designed and sequenced, just like we're taught to communicate with a jury. You got to do that homework. You got to do the work. But yes, if you do the work, the tools are provided to you, and the opportunity to role play is provided to you on how to effectively become great at direct exam.
That's one of the things when Don was teaching us about how to be faculty that he really drilled home. Well, I would say two things that he really drilled home to us. Number one, the biggest mistake we make is thinking that direct exam is easy. Biggest mistake we make. So folks, I already was there. At least I knew it wasn't easy, because I felt like a dumb something every time I got up there with my client. It was just soul crushing. It was terrible at it. And then also, you got to do the homework for the colleges. And this is for all colleges, everyone. So if you're going to go to voir dire or damages closing or whatever it may be, always do the reading. And that sounds so silly. It sounds like, I don't know, eat your greens and your vegetables or whatever. But if you don't eat your greens and your vegetables, you kind of die sooner. So it's kind of similar, where if you don't read the articles and get prepared and, be ready to take in this course, your brain isn't going to absorb the nutrients of the college itself as easily. It's going to be a little bit more of a struggle for you. So what's really cool about this college that you just said, Thomas, talked a little bit about, is the role-playing opportunity. Because you do learn a new system of developing a direct exam. And for those of you wondering out there, the college is mostly focused on the direct exam of your client, but it does provide a template you can use, and there's blog articles out there that you can use for any witness. But the college is largely focused. Is that right, Thomas? That's what I'm remembering from what I was taught. So I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, it was the launch pad for it was the Go By book. Yep. And the Go By book is a Go By book of direct exam of the client. And so, yes, the emphasis is direct exam of your client. But you are correct. Going back to what we said before, everything has been very clearly and intentionally thought out. And it gives you, again, if you're willing to read it and put in the work and recognize how you can apply that, Yeah, direct exam for DNA witnesses, direct exam for expert witnesses. I mean, yeah, it's all there. But the focus and the primary role playing and that kind of stuff is going to be direct exam of the client. But a lot of that's transferable.
No, why is it not enough for me then just to go buy the Go By book and just look at what Papa Don did? Because I mean, isn't the Go By book just straight up transcripts from trials where Don has direct examined witnesses?
I like how you ask questions. Well, it is. But here's the other thing that blows me away, and that is that the students, right? So as part of the college, you're going to have to read one of the homeworks is going to be to read and identify, read one of the direct exams, one of the cases, and then go by and point out all the that's what go by means. It's an example of what you should do, right? It's something you go by. Mm-hmm. And you need to point out to us what are all the Keenan systems or Keenan. I like saying KTI teachings that are embedded in there, and they don't two things. And we did this, right? When we did this as faculty, is you don't see everything because it's so fucking subtle and it's woven in and out. That's the result of hard work that he did, right? That's not, and then two, so you're not really seeing everything. You might have the occasional student that nails it, but I haven't seen it yet, and that includes us faculty. We didn't nail it. And then two, I'm amazed that we have this Go By book out there. Why don't I just go by and buy it and read it? Okay. They haven't done it. They haven't taken it and read it. I mean, they haven't read every single one of them. Some of them haven't read anything out of the, and I'm not dissing on the students. I'm just saying, that is not a reality that we're seeing, or that I'm seeing, at least with the students, is, well, I've read them all and I use them all. I mean, we do have, see, I confused the numbers now. What is it 31441? Oh,
314?
Yeah, 314. Yeah, except for him. He may have read every single one of them and nails it, but that's the gold standard right there. But people aren't even reading it. So it's interesting that sometimes people have to go to a college to actually read it and try and use it. You do it in the heat of preparing for trial is different than if you do it with a group of like-minded people in your think tank. Is that responsive to your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the bottom line really is the college gives you the key to understanding the Go By book and really being able to put it into practice. So when I first read the Go By book, I was like, okay, this is so Papa Donnie. It's very colloquial. It's very conversational. It's very, it's great, but what? I was just very confused as to why everybody was so excited about this Go By book. I mean, no offense, everybody, but I was like, what is the deal? And then when I took the college and got trained to teach it, I was like, oh my gosh, I completely missed what he was doing with those direct exams. And that's what, you're talking about, Thomas, with subtlety, is it gets to you. It doesn't have to be fancy speak. It doesn't have to be, if you read the Go By book, it's just Papa Don talking like a bubba, and, he makes mistakes. He gets the date wrong. He does little things here and there. And so it's not, you're not in there as this polished, perfect person. It's the underlying techniques and the purposes that you learn at the college that will then allow you to take that Go By book, open it up whenever you're preparing a direct exam, and go from there. So that's That's really important, folks who are listening and who are maybe thinking about, I don't know, maybe I just buy the Go By book and ask the same questions Don did. That may work in some cases. It might, but it also might really backfire on you because there was a reason and a purpose for every question Papa Don asked in those cases that was unique and special to that case. And there was a purpose for bringing out the information he did from those witnesses that was unique and special to that case. And so in the direct exam college, we really talk about how to do that, how to find those things and how to bring them out and where to bring them out in that testimony, right?
Oh, well, yes, absolutely. Going back to sequencing, yes, everything's intentional that we're taught. It's curious, as you were saying that, I remember my first opportunity to use the Go By book. It was in November of 2020, actually was an interpleader trial. And, with Kira Wallstrom, in the direct exam, there was the discussion about, how insensitive of an attorney to not recognize, where we're meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to use that because, while it may not have been the exact same situation, but, I had taken my client to, my clients and I ride together to mediation. We ride together to court. And we were going to mediation, and I drove by the area of the wreck, and that was the first time she'd been back there. And we were talking, just like I do, because I want them to feel comfortable and normal on the way there. And then all of a sudden I felt she stopped talking when she put her hand on my arm. I was like, oh shit, what'd I do? Am I about to hit something? Yeah. And I was oblivious to it. But my point is, you're exactly right. There are things that are unique to the case, but man, every one of us has something like that that'll stand out or pop out to us, that we can use. And then, what's interesting to me is, how timely the Friday blogs are, right? I mean, today's Friday blog, rat holes, where the defense wins, and it's about your client being off code. I mean, and your attorney being on code, and that's all addressed. It's all addressed in how you prepare the direct exam of your client and how you present the direct exam of your client. It helps fill those rat holes too. So that's another reason to take the down in college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does, and it's for those of us like me who really enjoy a paint by numbers, step by step. Here's an outline, fill in, what you need. There's some of that as well. And so there's going to be, just like everything in Edge, there's a system, and you'll learn a system, and you'll learn where it fits within the larger symphony, and just kind of really focus on how to plug the rat holes and bring out what you need to bring out in your client's testimony, most of all, because really, even though, well, let me see, I have a little bit of a disconnect here, Thomas, and let's see if we can figure this out. If Edge is about the system failure, and it's not about the event, and it's not about your client, and Bubba don't give a you-know-what about your client, then why do we care about the direct exam of our client so much that we spend a 3-day course learning about it?
Well, what does Bubba care about?
What does Bubba care about?
Yeah, what's Bubba care about?
Themselves.
Themselves, that's right. That's exactly right. They care about themselves. And, they've got to, you've got to bring your client to life, a real person, so that the jury can say, oh, well, that's like my brother, or oh, that's like my uncle, or oh, that's like my wife, or oh, that's like my niece or my sister, or whatever it is. It's amazing to me, all these things that Papa Don teaches us and how much more meaning it has every day. I get a deeper understanding of why should Bubba give a shit? Well, Bubba gives a shit because these people are his people. Babette gives a shit because, this is her, these are her people. And that's why you got to put in the work and spend that time. It's not just you got to do it subtly, and you got to bring it out. I mean, I know, like whenever I did Willingham, I think it was Willingham, this was my client profile. That was my brother, man. Mm-hmm. That was my brother. I mean, I saw my brother every which way. And when Papa Don asked me the question of, well, why would anybody care? I broke down crying. I was like, well, that's kind of insulting that you asked me that question. It's what? That's why. Your disconnect is a common disconnect, right? Because we're taught that nobody gives a shit about your client, but your client's going to be the most effective witness at trial. And it's because the jury's they got to see themselves in your plaintiff and in their story. And that's why you have to spend that time and work and effort. Otherwise, you might get a verdict, but it won't matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. That emotional connection does have to be there. Even though you spend 99.9% of the trial talking about the system and everything else, there has to, in the system, obviously, what we always talk about, the greater the system failure, the greater the emotional response as well. So that's certainly a big part of the emotional response. But, you've got to have that there. And I spend a lot of time thinking about my own disconnect because I always talk to people about it. I bring them up in class and then I spend my own time thinking about it. And I think along the lines of exactly what you're saying, Thomas, is that your client is the one who's asking for money, okay, for something they claim happened to them. They claim they are injured. And that's not a normal thing. That is not normal. Nobody, I mean, if I fall down my stairs in my house, I don't go around asking for money for it. Or if there's all kinds of things where we are injured, or if, old age saddles you with something like dementia, which is a lot like what our brain injury clients experience. Those symptoms are very similar. I'm not asking for money for it in compensation, although I believe I deserve it because who the hell gave me this lot in life? But it's not normal what we're doing. And so we have to present somebody who is credible, who is believable, who the jury can identify with, who can corroborate what everybody else has said, and by corroborate, I don't mean repeat. Please don't get me wrong. Please don't have your client repeat everything that everybody else has already testified to. Oh, dear God. That's the worst direct exam. But trust and credibility are huge in trial, and you can't lose that. You can lose it real fast. You put your client on the stand and something goes wrong. So this course is pivotal for maintaining that. It's really important. And I'm still not an expert at it. I still have clients who get up there and I just didn't quite, I missed something or I didn't quite get it right. But as with everything, this is a practice. This is a process. This is us learning and getting better.
And it is, and you will, and kind of like, how you described reading it and saying, okay, well, so what, right? As we do it more, things stick out more, especially whenever we experience them. I mean, I tried a case last week and, one of the things that we're supposed to cover wasn't there. And it made a difference. And now it's like, oh, I know why he said to do that. Oh, yeah. But it's like everything, man. He's been telling us from day one all this good stuff, and it was just like, we get cores of it, but then after what? Oh, I totally get that now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was it? Wait, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but wasn't it in the beginning of direct exam college? He asked us he asked us something. It was like, what was the biggest issue in our cases that KTI has been working on and we've been really focusing on and blah, 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 blah. None of us knew the answer. And it had been something we'd all been focusing on, and it ended up being Well, it's foreseeability. It's no secret. That's not even secret sauce, folks out there. Black hats, foreseeability. Who cares?
It's the
But
law.
it's like, I mean, it's such a basic concept, but it goes over your head because we're in the weeds. We're focusing on little things that don't need to be focused on and whatever, but it's a big key. Excuse me. So to your point, we really need to attending this college as well as all the other colleges provides these little pieces for us. And then within the colleges, there's all this information that are all pieces to the puzzle. And it's not easy to put them together. And sometimes you forget them, but the more we do it, the better we get at it. And we have a question from the audience. Dennis Phillips says, rat holes, question mark. I'm just going to answer that by telling you to read the blog from today, because I don't want to get too far into it, because I want folks to read Papa Don's words on that. So Dennis, grab the sign into your account on the Keenan Trial blog and check it out. It's a good one.
And I would say this, and I tell everyone in the colleges too, is if you're not reading that Friday blog every Friday, you're missing out. I mean, and I don't know this for a fact, but because I don't have any inside scoop, but I'm seeing gold. I'm seeing what I would call secret sauce in the embedded subtly in those blogs, and I don't think everyone's picking it up. But
yeah, I mean, you do have to be vetted in order to have access to the blogs. And so you do get more from the blogs. Like, for example, this podcast is public. So, we don't share a lot of the nitty gritty on how things are done. But the blog is kind of one step more. If you don't have access to it, I think William or Clynette may be the person to email. But yeah, you do have to attest that you do all plaintiffs' work. And it's a wonderful resource. It's a really, really great resource. I do read it every Friday morning. Once in a while, I'll, get behind, but it's good. And sometimes I'll go, oh God, I don't know if you feel like this is the way. I think, oh, I don't feel like going to that class. Well, I don't feel like doing this. Well, I don't feel like doing that. But if you make yourself do it, it's worth it. And so that's kind of, I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh gosh, I feel like spending 20 minutes reading the blog. Not really, but then I do. And I'm like, wow, I'm really glad I did. So folks, if you can get on the blog, if you don't have it yet, check it out. I think it's William or Clynette, and all of you know who that is. If not, post in the comments. We'll figure out what we're allowed to let you know as far as who to contact about that.
But the thing I was getting at is, the direct exam all started by the go by book, right? Why? Why did Papa Don change the format now to a go by, right? And I'm only speaking from what Thomas thinks, but I mean, it's because it's like, the go by book is chock full of secret sauce, but it's so subtle you don't know it. And that's the point I was trying to make with the blog articles too. It's not like he's going, here's the secret sauce. He's just telling stuff, and it goes back to subtlety, rules, everything. And so if he's providing us the go by book for us to be thinking on our own and identifying these things on our own, leveling up in that regard, then he may have been doing this the entire time, and maybe provides it in the blog, that kind of stuff. It's just that, if you're not trained, if you're not KTI trained or haven't gone, you'll never pick it up. You can't. And that's why we're not worried about, black hats reading a transcript or something, because they won't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's just like when you go to law school and your mind gets all messed up and you're taught to think in a different way and read a different way and whatever. KTI kind of undoes that. I mean, we spend all of our careers, if you go into being a trial lawyer after law school, trying to undo all of law school. But KTI is a similar experience where you are taught to look at things a little bit differently, especially things that Don puts out, right? He doesn't, exactly like you said, he doesn't have to say, this is what I did here. This is what I did there. Because if you've gone to the colleges, you can learn to pick those things out yourself. And it's not just a bragging rights thing. Oh, I see what he's doing there. It's really important for then to be able to implement that into your own practice. Because if you don't understand the why or the how, knowing what it is not going to get you there. So it's really, going to the colleges is a valuable investment of both time and money. So important, so cool, so like you just get a lot of good information, a lot of keys to the kingdom. I hate that phrase. Sorry, pretend I didn't say that. But and then yeah, so you also get to do it with other people who are like-minded and who enjoy having the conversations that you're going to be having during that time. I mean, you're doing a lot of role playing with people who might be strangers, but they're all kind of like-minded, right, Thomas?
Well, yeah, we hope so. The question I have in my mind and thinking about this is because, KTI students, there's going to be, other great areas of opportunity for learning, right, outside of KTI that they may attend. And so my question really is, and I don't know the answer to this, I don't think any, but where else is there a dedicated college to direct exam with a client? I mean, is there one out there? I don't know of one.
I don't know of one, and folks feel free to point us into one that there is. But one thing I like about the Keenan Edge system is that it really gives you a system for each element of your trial. I know there are a lot of trial philosophies. There are a lot of different colleges who teach you how to think about litigation in general in a different way, maybe presenting things in certain ways and whatnot. But I have not seen one that really gives you a play-by-play, a system you can follow for every piece of your trial. And not even just trial, folks, not even just trial. Deposition, discovery, we've got a hit list course now, all kinds of stuff. So to me, in my comfort zone and what I need out of a college, this gives it, because it is a full package. I really struggle with the abstract stuff of like, woohoo, and then trying to get a good verdict. This ain't me. I like the bread and butter.
Well, and the benefit too is it's all his subtlety is all woven throughout every individual college. So you get that as well, and the benefit of all the colleges. But I don't think there's another. I know at one point in time, Hoey had said there was no other college that offered direct exam of the client, and it's like, well, maybe it's because everyone thinks it's easy, and it's not. Right? It's not.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. That maybe. But it's a good one. It's a great college. So Thomas, of the 3 days, kind of what does it look like overall? If someone's looking at that and going, gosh, 3 days, that's a lot. What are we learning each day? 30,000 foot view.
So we go over a lot in the first day of foundation, right? Just getting everyone on the same blackboard as far as the foundational skills. And then, there's role play every single day to help bring that home. Then the second day, you spend a lot of your time with getting into more of the details of, conducting the direct exam of your client, of the way you do it, how the sequencing, and those types of things that come into play. And then the third day, it's not necessarily a full day, but it's redoing some of the role play that you did the second day, because you fall flat on your face. I mean, you were talking about that, and I still remember from training, I felt like I was on top of the world. I knew what I was doing. I just used it in the recent trial, and then I did it. And you guys, the first time you graded me, you were too generous. And probably I was like, well, let's double check that. Let's look back at what we were really looking at. Let's see if that's what you mean. And then my grade went down.
Mm-hmm.
But the third day then is picking up a redo of a lot of that, right? So from the critiques and that kind of stuff, and then being able to, and we offer at that point to go over the direct exam of your whatever case you brought, right? So that you can have that as a base outline to work on moving forward. Now, I will say that because, like you said, a lot of times, the biggest mistake is that people think direct exam is easy. Well, that code, that paradigm, that imprint that people have coming into this, oftentimes mean that they don't have the information that they need to do their direct exam with their client. They realize it. So that's a limitation but it shows them everything, and we give the opportunity on the third day to start filling in and your direct exam of your actual client, and we even offer role play for that as well if people are inclined. It just seems like to me that, again, a lot of times they don't realize the information they need to have, so they don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next question, actually, because we focus a lot on the client profile or bio or whatever people are calling it these days in the direct exam course, right?
Is that a question?
Well, yeah,
yes.
I'm asking.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Right. So it's, and the client bio is something, again, there's a blog on it. David Hoey wrote it, but that's going to teach you how to get the information from your client that you need to do the direct exam. And that's a big, big, big part of it. Yeah.
And so I didn't, yes, you spend a lot of the first day is the foundational, and then two, as part of the first day also is truly getting to understand the power of the client profile. I didn't know how much detail it's allowed to give on the days and stuff, but yes, you do, and you spend a lot of time on that and understanding what a right way, wrong way of preparing that, and then you'll see from how you use it in role play, you'll see how important it is to do and for you to do it, not to pawn it off on someone else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've started working the client bio to the point, I call it the client bio. I don't know. Is it client profile? Whatever. Anybody, you know what I'm talking about. But if I did not do it in the beginning, which I now do it early with my clients, before I did not know about it. And so I did not do it, but now I do it early with my clients. And if I haven't done it, I work it into my witness prep before deposition. So that's I just mentioned that because a lot of people will have questions about, well, what if I didn't get this information from my client in the beginning? Or what if I don't really know all of this stuff? It's okay. I mean, most of the time you can figure it out, unless trial is tomorrow. Even then, you probably can pull an all-nighter and do a pretty good job of getting good information from your client. But one of the keys to really understanding how to nail a good direct exam with your client is knowing them very, very well. And that process should begin way in the beginning. It certainly begins by witness prep, but by the time you've gotten to preparing a direct exam, you should really have a great relationship, a good foundation of trust between you and your client, which will really help that examination go well.
And, with that, I would say you are correct that if you didn't know about it and didn't do it, that you'll have cases that are in your pipeline that, you'll have to retrofit. But I would also caution, just because that's where we may be at anyone may be at a given time, let's not make that the default. The default really needs to be is any new case moving forward, you do it early. Mm-hmm. Early on, and because one, they will get the imprint that they can trust you early on whenever you spend that time bonding with them, right? As opposed to, sometime later, you want that initial imprint of them to be a bond with you. And then, you're going to have a better comfort level and being able to, not only bond with your client, but then to be able to let them open up to you. That's the key thing is them opening up, because first of all, they aren't prepared for their lawyer to really want to know all this stuff. They don't see why it's important. And so, the more time you get to spend with them, then the more their guard goes down. Then you get the real good shit. And it's very, very helpful to have all of that early on and up front, as much as possible. You are correct. There are times that we're playing catch up, but I would say that we should have in our mindset that we're doing that, early on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Everybody work on getting to know your client early and often. And that's, Don wrote, I think even in today's blog article, he mentioned he's had a few clients that he didn't like, a few clients that he couldn't even stand to be in the same room as. He just, and I'm not going to say that, getting to know your client's going to change your mind on that, but it certainly will give you a better idea of where they're coming from. It will give you an idea of how to address the things that you don't really like about your client, and maybe a jury doesn't like about them in direct exam. And that in the Go By book and in the college, we talk about how to use other witnesses to address some of those issues. Some preconditioning, some, different testimony and things like that. A lot of interesting techniques and tactics tactics sounds shady, so I'm not going to use that word, but techniques to really, even if your client is not somebody that you necessarily would be friends with outside of your representation of that person, you really, that person deserves justice no matter what. They were wronged, they were injured by someone else. And what common ground can you give them and the jury such that the jury can still connect with them and still feel like they should give them compensation, even if they're not warm and fuzzy or super friendly or, any of that sort of thing. So that's another really cool technique that I enjoyed learning.
Let's see, you and I are teaching the next college, right?
I think so, in November.
Yep. So be sure and plug that date for everybody. But what, you haven't seen yet, some of the things that we've taken and added in, and you will see, or any student will see, kind of the transformation that you just talked about unfold from one of the students who had done a client profile for the first time. And you will see exactly what you're talking about, the power that you have of knowing them and being able to, present their true side, not this jaded side that we may have or the jury may have. Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, it is just, it's exciting to see whenever that excitement comes across. You go, man, I couldn't stand them. I couldn't understand how I'd be able to do this. And then to switch to, holy cow. Yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah. And it's so important, it's because your client has, most of the time, clients haven't worked with a lawyer before. And I think we forget to put ourselves in their shoes. I do. I know I do. I forget to put myself in their shoes. They're hurting. They're confused. They're stressed out. There's all these things I have to go through, figuring out, what doctors to go to, having doctors be jerks to them because doctors are like the worst people in the world, and not help them get to other doctors. And, the receptionists are yelling at them. And there's all this stuff going on in their life. I used to think, you're not doing anything. I'm doing all the work. You're not doing anything. Why are you stressed out? But there is a lot going on for them, and doing, preparing for the direct exam, which sounds like it's only a few moments during trial, begins way back to a point where you really get into kind of what's going on there. helping them put that barrier down, trust you. And I'm just thinking in my mind of an example of two different clients I have. One, I just finished her case and we never had a good relationship. Never. I, I tried to get rid of her a couple of times and she just wouldn't leave, but we did not have good relationship. And I never did a client bio. I never spent time with her. Because it was a case from way before I knew to do anything like that. Versus another client I just spent 2 hours with, which you can spend even more time with than that, but 2 hours just talking about her family and her life. And she went from being somebody who's fairly closed off to sharing all kinds of really neat things with me. So our relationship, I know moving forward, will be 10 times better than the other lady who still hates me. So if you want to feel good about yourself and your client, come to direct exam college, learn how to get to know your client, learn how to discover who they are, how to present that to a jury. It's fantastic.
So it is important that they people have taken the witness prep, because that's important to have taken before you take direct exam, and that is
that a prerequisite? Do we need to have done that before we come?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will say this. I will say that I had no idea what was involved in being an assistant dean to a new college. Tony Seaton had mentioned it, and I asked, well, I'm happy to get back because I've gotten so much, but what does that involve? And he goes, oh yeah, I love Tony. He said, oh yeah, you just have to babysit a bunch of faculty members. And I'm like, that's not what this is. It's a lot more than that.
They always undersell.
Oh yeah.
It turns out to be a lot more.
Yeah. But I say that because, still not knowing the entire process, that is something that I thought we've already established and put out there. I guess I need to follow up and make sure that that's been properly disclosed. But yeah, you really need to have the witness prep done. And that college is instrumental in, because all these colleges, they work together, right? That's instrumental to really being able to then take from that experience and being able to use it in a way that you would use it at trial. Because when you prepare your client for deposition, half the time you're not asking a single fucking question. In the rare occasion, you might ask a question to clear up some kind of misunderstanding. But if you prepared your client properly, you won't have to do that because they will have handled it for you. But you need that foundation to really be able to take home what we're able to build off of that and share in direct exam. Yeah.
And I think on the website, does it say what prereqs are for people who are so excited by this talk that they're going straight to the website to
I confess I don't know the answer to that. That's something I need to double check. That's one thing where I didn't know, am I the one supposed to do that? What I mentioned is I don't know what's involved with to what levels the assistant dean takes care of that stuff. I believe it's already been addressed, but who puts it up or not, I don't know. So I'll double check. But I will say to anyone that is interested in the direct exam, that is, you want to take the witness prep. Definitely. And I do think it's a prerequisite, but I don't know if it's been listed.
Okay. All right, cool. And I feel like when I've signed up for courses at some point, somebody asks me, I don't know if it's on the sign up sheet or if I get an email, have you taken these courses? And that's another thing, folks, that's really important. There are some courses that the prerequisites are really thought out. Okay, let me just say that. When faculty decides what courses you need to take before taking a course, it's really well thought out, and there's a reason they're asking you to take that. We actually had a change, I believe, or at least I suggested a change. I don't know if it was implemented in the trial course, where I didn't feel like, I taught it a couple of times and the students were not understanding a lot of the concepts, and it was because a lot of them hadn't taken certain courses. And so there is a reason you need to take those courses before you take the next one in the process. You learn certain things that become the foundation for other courses. So that's important. And I think, let's see, well, let's say bottom line, Thomas, what can I expect to get out of this direct exam college after I've taken it? What do I have in my hands for use in my practice?
You will have developed a checklist for direct exam of your client. If that's your bottom line, that's your bottom line. You get a checklist for an effective direct exam of your client.
Fantastic. That's what I'm looking for. If it takes 3 days for me to get it, it's worth it. All right.
But you got it. Oh, I'm sorry. Was it time?
Go for it. No, we're good.
Well, but that's the you get the checklist, but you got to do the work, and then you're going to find, right? You're gonna, if you don't have something that fits in that checklist, like I did last week, you're going to recognize, oh, that's why it's there if you didn't already know. So it's, again, this is not, Mr. Keenan's approach is not just a bag of tricks, man. It's a way of life. It's a way, you gotta become part of it, I guess, is the best way to describe it. You can't just, oh, I'm gonna use this here, I'm gonna use this here, which is so often what you do, because he weaves all the stuff subtly through all of it. So anyway, sorry.
And that's what he always says, use other systems if you want to, but if you're going to use Edge, just use it. Don't try to mix and match, because it's not going to work. And that is not an ego thing. It is a straight up just, the facts are, if you're going to use parts of the Edge system, it's not going to work out so well if you combine it with other things. So a hybrid approach is going to be a little bit difficult for everyone. I'm just looking at my calendar here. It looks like November 9th, 10th, and 11th is us teaching direct exam. So unless that has changed, that's what's on my calendar. So folks, if you want to sign up for that, go ahead and do it.
Be ready to do your homework.
Yeah, please come prepared. Please read the things that we tell you to read. Stay up late the night before. Send us the pre-homework. It's all worth it. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Thomas. And thank you to all of you who joined us for this week's episode of Fridays with Keenan's Cutting Edge. If you liked today's episode, please click the thumbs up to feed the YouTube algorithm, and don't forget to subscribe and sign up for alerts so you don't miss an episode. Next week, we have a replay of Ben Boscolo's rules and case selection episode. This is a good one. Sometimes when we are scheduling speakers, we just don't have someone who's available to come live. And so we dig deep into our archive of awesome speakers and throw it up there so you have something to look forward to. This is a good one as a refresher for those of you who watched it live or who've already seen it, as well as a way to invite others to join and who maybe haven't watched an episode yet. Benji is always super interesting to talk to, and it's a good episode to watch. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks live again with Monty Tynes, who's going to talk to us about product liability. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time.